Hey guys, Dale here, and welcome back to Odyssey Station for another episode of Gravship Blueprints. Today we're going to be taking a look at two versions of the Ebon Hawk. Why is that doing that? That was very, very strange. The Ebon Hawk is a freighter. It kind of gives Millennium Falcon type vibes. It is a freighter ship like the Millennium Falcon was originally. It comes from a story that's like older in the Star Wars universe compared to what we see in the typical movies. It's from Knights of the Old Republic, so I don't know the exact timeline, but I think that's like a few thousand years, if not 10,000 years before kind of like what we currently see in the movies. We have a version that is 2000 out of 2000 and conforms to vanilla building rules. I'm trying to make most all of the grav ships that I feature in this series like vanilla friendly. So we are using modded textures, but vanilla buildings, right? We have a full-size comm console, we have a nutrient paste dispenser, all that fun stuff. And the little guy here doesn't have a grav engine in it, so I can't show you. You'll have to trust me that this is 500 out of 500. It's meant for a grav ship with no extenders. With the grav engine placed in this location, this is the very tip of the building area. And the interesting thing about this guy is that if we were building the Ebon Hawk to scale, and one block in RimWorld were a meter, this guy is almost to scale. I think it is like one block too wide and like one or two blocks too long. But it is pretty close, and that's actually like pretty exciting for me. When I was building Save Our Ship 2 ships in Blueprints episodes, I was trying to do things at scale or half scale if the ships were too large. And so it's kind of nice to be in the Star Wars universe where things are a little bit more like reasonably sized. Let's take a look at some pictures of the Ebon Hawk real quick if you're not familiar with it. Let me click this guy. And so here it is. We can see like the twin engines in the back. We can see this section extends a little forward, but not as forward as the bridge. And then there's like a little cutout section, but it is mirrored over here on that left side as well. Here's a top-down view of it. Here's a front-on view and a side view. And then this was an interesting view. I don't know if I got like the internal proportions exactly as well as I could have, but you know, we can't do all of this like rounding completely in RimWorld. We can only just kind of like mimic it. But I did try to stay pretty close to this. Of course, you know, in a grav ship, you're probably expecting to be able to like feed your crew and, you know, live in it for at least a little while. So we did have to make some accommodations for that. So instead of a second crew quarter here on the right, I just kind of like doubled up bunks on the left, and we are using the right side for hydroponics. I did try and keep like this cargo area and this cargo area. But let's go ahead and take a look at it. We'll start with the little guy, because I think if I were going to build one of these and play it, and I would build one of these. If I were going to build a lot of these ships, I would build the Ebon Hawk and just do the 500 by 500 version, and I would build the Nova for sure. And I might plan playthroughs around those two ships specifically. Not hard to plan a playthrough around the Ebon Hawk, because I do a lot of like Star Wars RimWorld content. So starting on the left side, we have our little bunks over here. This dresser doesn't reach all of the beds, it just kind of reaches these top 4, so these two aren't getting a comfort bonus out of that. I did leave this barracks or crew quarters area open into our dining / recreation area, and that gives the barracks very impressive. So that'll be kind of like a little bit of a mood boost, or you know, counteract the fact that they are sleeping in a barracks together. Below the barracks, we have a cargo bay with some power. during the day. Is our sun lamp running? It's off. So during the night, we are in excess about 2600 unless people are moving through vac barriers. So that should charge our batteries up enough in order to keep this sun lamp running during the day, as well as have everything turned on. Next to our cargo area, we have a small medical bay. It has 2 beds in it. On the Ebon Hawk, it looks like there's only one medical bed in the med bay. So getting a little bit more use out of this space right here. And then we have kind of like what I would consider like main engineering or the engineering area. We have 4 small thrusters on this guy. We have some batteries. We have some additional chem fuel generators, biofuel refinery, fabrication bench, and comm consoles. I have filled in a bunch of extra shelves in here, so you could probably like wiggle some of these guys around and fit some other benches in here. I don't know if you need a fabrication bench if you're running a ship / colony this small. I would imagine that this is doing brief missions and maybe doing like some cargo hauling. So maybe this isn't necessarily doing a lot of like actual crafting on board. You might put like a smelter down so that you can smelt scrap and weapons and stuff from your missions. But I think this crafting or workshop area, not too critical. I did not include a research bench on this ship. It's just really tight. If I were gonna fit a research bench on this ship, I'd probably swap out the shuttle bay for a research bench, right? The shuttle is 3x5, research table is 2x5, so you could fit that in, and a chair. Wouldn't be able to get a multi-analyzer in here unless maybe you like bump the wall out or something. We have the nutrient paste dispenser, and I rarely do this, but we are using the nutrient paste dispenser as a wall, which it functions as a wall. So we can have this section refrigerated. We have some shelves here in our freezer. We have a cooler connected to a chimney, so it is protected. And then I've dropped a steel barricade in our little chimney so that it's not a desirable location for drop pods to land, whether that be from an orbital trader or from pirates. Over here we have 10 hydroponics included. We could fit like 2 more if you wanted to interrupt the walkway here. But 10, that'll feed about 5 colonists. So unless you're doing some hunting, probably not going to have like a full crew complement in here being able to be satisfied by this rice completely. We've talked about the crew quarters into the recreation / dining area. I did put a door in front of the nutrient paste dispenser. I do this because I think sometimes it's considered a production facility. So I don't want production facilities in my barracks. And if I wanted to put like a little ideology, ideogram or a small altar in here or something, that small altar would not be happy with the nutrient paste dispenser being in the same room as it. So that's just an easy way to kind of block it off. They can interact with it in this doorway, and it's no problem, right? It's just an auto door. Leading up to the bridge, we do have some more storage this way, and then I liked the seating configuration that we kind of like saw. So you can see here there are a couple of seats for pilots and then additional crew up here in this bridge area. So I went ahead and mirrored that here on my bridge. And as always, an additional resource or additional source of recreation. I've thrown a mega screen TV in front of the pilot console to act as a view screen for them and to get colonists like come and hang out in the bridge, because really the only reason they're here is to do a ritual for takeoff. And I think that's a little lame. I think it would be neater if there were reasons for colonists to hang out on the bridge, so I'm giving them those reasons. Our little agri-hands here taking care of our crops. And then I did try to kind of like do the same thing with keeping the floor plan the same here on the larger version. So much larger barracks on the left and the right side. How many beds do we have here? We have 10, so potentially 20 crew in here. If you wanted to have like some private quarters for like the captain or, the officers or whatever, I would probably just like close off like, the top part of this area. Or we have dedicated a lot of outdoor space in the ship. Might cannibalize some of that space for individual officer quarters. So from this area here, we have our guns, the best that we can emulate the guns of the Ebon Hawk on the side. We did have like some steel mini turrets over here on this guy, right? Yeah. And then this barracks opens up into a long hallway that actually ends up being this entire room. Is their kind of dining area / recreation. It's extremely impressive. It's luxurious. It's extremely spacious and clean. So that's great. We have our fuel optimizer and our pilot sub-persona core either side, kind of central of the ship. Down here we have an area for hydroponics. We've squeezed in, I think it's counting the rice. There should be like 10 there, right? 9, 10. So there are 20 hydroponics basins right here and another 20 over here. So 40 divided by 2. We could, if everything were perfect, we could feed all of these crewmen. But we know that they're not going to be harvesting and planting like immediately. So I might go ahead and add some like officer quarters, some private quarters to the top of these and reduce the amount of crew that I would keep in this ship. Or you could take up a bunch of this open cargo area and expand the hydroponics out. So we have our bridge here. We have our 4-seat setup. I was able to fit the comm console up this way, which I think makes sense to have it adjacent or part of the bridge. So that's what we've done. But just behind the bridge, we have a massive storage area, and this one is refrigerated for food, for butchering. And so you could shove this full of shelves and store whatever you needed to in here, just like in that diagram, a cargo area. We have a big cargo area here, and so this could be filled with shelves or whatever you need as well. Back here in the engineering area, I kind of tried to segregate some of the engines, at least the twin engines on the side, to make it look like they have an engine housing. It's filled with chem fuel generators, batteries, and the grav field extenders are in either of those. We do have 6 large thrusters and the 4 small thrusters. We have a rear exit, and we did manage to fit a lot of crafting facilities in this engineering area. So we have everything from a stonecutter's bench to a fabrication bench, machining table, electric tailoring bench, as well as biofuel refineries. They can travel. Actually, they can't travel through here, can they? I might remove this battery and then put a doorway right here just so that that's interrupted. That being said, the long corridor here, there is an entrance and there's an entrance. On the back right of the ship, we have a laboratory area with our research bench with a multi-analyzer. And for this ship, I decided to go ahead and put like a gene assembler and some gene banks in here. We haven't really made like a xenogenetics area in any of our ship builds before, but of course, the space is all flexible, so feel free to use it for whatever you're going to use it for. On the diagram that we have, this is supposed to be kind of like a garage workshop type area. And so the workshop's actually down here. And then I reserved this space for additional storage. You could throw some shelves in here and have even more cargo. Over here on the right side, we have our second barracks. We also have an unroofed area, this area, a couple solar panels, some mortars for when you're on the planet if you need to deal with a siege. And then I put some ground penetrating scanners here. You could swap these out for mineral miners. You could swap them out for a bedroom, whatever you desire. Next to the nutrient paste dispenser and the cold storage, we do have a kitchen, and then we have a lot of recreation facilities. A steel billiards table, We have a steel horseshoe pin, only one place where they can actually like shoot at it from. Might move it down here, and then a bunch of like bar seating for them. Next to the first barracks that we looked at, we do have a bunch of solar generators. So it is daytime with 2 sun lamps running. We have a grid excess of 6,000, maybe 7,000 watts during the day. So we are pretty excessive. We could probably get rid of a few of these solar panels if needed. We do have all our crafting facilities turned on. We have our gene assembler turned on. So the ship is pretty solid on power, and you could cut back quite a bit. Of course, we do have 2 grav core power cells here. So I would factor that into your build. If you don't have spare grav cores to make power cells, then you might hang on to some of these solar powered generators. Over here on the small guy, I also included 2 grav core power cells, so that is supplementing some of that power here. This ship is definitely like more on the razor's edge when it comes to just running 1 sun lamp. And this ship could probably have a lot more facilities in it. So let's take a look at the plants. Turn those on. You can see, as usual, I've made a version of the plants that is full of all kinds of garbage. So if this makes sense to you, if you guys have paid attention to me enough and watched me build and what I put down in these plants, those are available. And then, of course, the regular just like silhouettes are here. An explainer on this is where you would put your grav engine. And then these dots represent where you could put your grav field extenders. And so this would be a single extender. It could go here or anywhere along this line. And same here and here. You have a little leeway with the grav extenders on the back right and the back left. They could be as far back as this guy, and then they could be pretty much anywhere in this range. And then the back extender, pretty limited range, 5 different tiles that it could go into. On this guy, there are no grav extenders, but I did kind of show you where you could put the grav engine instead of telling you that it had to be dead center. You could move it forward so that it's more like it's part of the bridge, or you could move it a little further back. This is as far back as it will go, as that gets you to here for your building area. Anyhow, as always, I'm going to go park these guys off in our anchorage. So they'll be joining our previous builds, which you can take a look at in previous episodes of Gravship Blueprints. And next episode, we'll probably be building a Galaxy class. So we'll take that on from Star Wars, and then I think I want to do a Terran cruiser from StarCraft. If you guys have hopes and dreams and recommendations for ships that you want me to build, please leave them in the comments. As always, until next time, have a good one. Bye.